Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Circle District Commissioner, we're doing that as an appointment?
Citizen participation is going on.
Okay.
He came in too late to get on the agenda, so.
All right. Mike and Terry, if you guys want to come up.
Our committee met, historical district meeting met on Thursday, and we read the documents that were sent by Ed Ryan and yourself and all the other paperwork, and we spoke about retaining our own lawyer to rebut anything that Ed Ryan has. And I spoke to Chris Martin about this the other day, and said what do I need to do, and he says you have to come to the select board and ask for permission, appropriate the lawyer in our behalf. He also said we need to know how much it's going to cost, and what we did is we spoke to Ellen Freeman Esquire. She needs a $5,000 retainer, and she's very experienced in historical property cases and land use. So,
Can you spell her last name for me?
Freyman Esquire.
Thank you.
Ellen.
I got the first name. Bess.
With that said, where do I go from here?
Yeah, what would she be doing? That's a scope first.
What we should be doing is going over what the documents that you gave us and go over the procedures in which to rebut whatever Ed is saying in that letter. She says that she would have to meet several times to do document reviews and strategize and recommend plan of action on what is going on with the situation that we're having.
When you, I'm taking it that you met with her, Mike, right?
No, just spoke. No, I didn't speak with her. Lisa did.
So, you must have gotten some indication, or not, but I guess that's my question. Did you get some indication that the information that Ed Ryan gave was incorrect?
We feel that the information is not correct.
I know you do, but does she feel as, usually when, when you go to a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
you give them the information,
Mm-hmm.
and they either feel that this is information that is incorrect, and I would certainly want to represent you, or something like that, or, a lawyer gives you some indication, whether it's going to be...
I would have to say I couldn't tell you, but I do feel that the information that was given was not correct. So, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't speak to her. I can.
Lisa actually spoke to her, and it was over the phone. So I don't think she's reviewed anything.
No, she hasn't reviewed anything other than that Lisa had told her, that what we had talked about at the meeting.
Was she at your meeting?
Lisa was.
No, the lawyer.
No, we wouldn't do that unless we had means to. And then at the discussion at our meeting, we felt that, in order to rebut what Mr. Ryan had to say, then we would have to get our own lawyer to rebut it. I mean, we can't do legal terms.
Authority.
We're not lawyers.
They don't have the authority to hire a lawyer.
Yeah.
We don't have
But
the authority,
I
so that's
thought
why
maybe-
that's why we would come here and ask you for.
If someone knew of this lawyer, and the lawyer, many lawyers give pro bono stuff to look at
They were-
something and stuff
They
like
were
that.
recommended by historical preservationist.
So, if I get this right, we're gonna you want us to put up a $5,000 so we
Retainer.
can, so we can sue ourselves?
Well, what do you propose that our committee does? I mean, we saw what we saw what you wrote.
Yep.
And the issues is that, you know, we felt that we have done everything we possibly could to say from the beginning that the application that was submitted to us was not done correctly. And from that point on, nothing has been done, no application has been refiled, and the appropriate ways to do things. And I go back to when we want to do something like build a house or build a garage, there's a process in which we have to go through. We got to go through the building inspector. Building inspector says, okay, you got to go to conservation, the planning board, the fire department, you know, the police department if necessary. Those things weren't done. So what I'm saying is that the application that we have on file was not done appropriately. And
What was in it?
at the moment, well, nothing was written on it. There was no cost involved on the application. It was just put together, and there was nothing for us to make a decision on. There was nothing for us to look at it and say, oh, okay, it's no good, or it's a danger. You know, I look at it like back in January and February, the fire department was in there doing an exercise. I'm going, if the property was in that disarray and in that much of endangering our public, why would we have our firemen in there doing an exercise in January and February? It doesn't make any sense to me. So, in my eyes, the building isn't in no imminent danger of falling down. It could be a very useful building for our community, and I just don't understand why we, you know, keep on deeming it condemned when it's really not.
We don't. We convened a thing, so you're saying our building inspector, member of the Board of Health and the fire chief, the report is wrong?
I would say that it was more biased than anything.
All right, so now you're telling me that our 3 employees are biased? Is that what you're saying?
Well, when Kellogg Hall was written up the same way? And
We never had that report done.
right. So what I'm saying is that there's a process, and I'm just saying that the process was never completed.
We filed our paperwork. You had 60 days to decide on it. You didn't
From what day?
I don't know. I have to go back to the paperwork.
I was nominated in October of 2013. His paperwork says June of 2013. So
That's when it was submitted.
So does anybody have that paperwork?
I don't have it on me.
Okay.
So, I just recommend if you guys aren't going to basically give out the certificate that we've requested, we'll just go to Superior Court and ask for an injunction and take care of it that way.
And, then we would have to come back and ask for a retainer for a lawyer to,
Well, I for one am not going to vote to give a retainer for the town to fight the town in court.
there's a reason why, they established the Historical District Commission, so for these things not to happen.
Yeah, there's a reason why the Historical District Commission needs to follow the statute.
And the statute is,
It says after you receive the thing, you have 60 days to decide on it.
I have no paperwork on that application.
Okay, that's
And who was on the committee at that time, and
all 3 of us. We've all been on the committee for 4 years. Well, who's been on the shortest?
on the select board or on the historical district?
You're talking about the historical district.
I'm talking about the historical district.
Yeah.
I don't know. I filed paperwork. Louis filled out the application, right?
Yeah.
If he filled out the application back then, why did he come to our committee with the application again, when he could have just
Because
brought
it
the other
never
one?
been acted on, like, it had never been acted on, no, but I think what town council is saying is that the committee has 60 days to act on it, and then hold a public hearing. We've never had a public hearing, and they've never acted on it. It's been 2 years. And I think our council is saying that the permit should have been issued, or should be issued, based on the fact that the statute wasn't followed.
Okay, and, well, the historical district is saying that until we can have that piece of paper, that application that you guys are saying that you guys have, then, there's, it's a stalemate, because we don't have the paperwork. And we're doing our job as the historical, to preserve the historical buildings in this town. And to demolish a building that has no imminent danger of falling down in the next 100 years, I don't understand why we're not going to.
We're past that part.
Okay.
We're at the part now where we're dealing with law. We got the report.
Okay, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't speak law.
All right, I'm just telling you where it is. You guys are asking for a lawyer, and I'm telling you, I'm not going to support giving a $5,000 retainer to a lawyer to argue with the town about something that our town council already. Is our town council supposed to be biased now too, or is he just misinformed?
No, actually, he was.
Counsel, according to Ed Ryan,
Well,
we have a right to counsel. The only thing we had to do was come before you and ask for a lawyer. If you're denying us the right to have legal counsel, is that what you're doing right now, Mark?
I don't have that authority.
When I spoke with Ed, he said it would be a reasonable request for someone to review his letter to see if he had missed something. Nothing about rebuttal letters, nothing about it, but to review his letter and render an opinion. That's what he said to me. He said that would be a reasonable request, but that they would have to come in front of the board, tell you what the scope of the work would be, how much they're planning on spending. You know how much she charges per hour, by chance?
All she said was, it was 5,000 retainer. No, I don't have that. Sorry, I can get it for you. I can get it for you.
Okay, thanks. I think that's what I told you when we met on Friday.
Yeah, all I got was the $5,000 retainer, which would do is that she would meet with us several times and do document review and strategize, recommending plan of action.
Okay. What were you saying, Terry, about right to counsel?
Yeah, we have a right to counsel. He told me that. You can't deny it. We have a right to counsel.
You don't have to pay for it, but
Oh, I do
Town's
believe the
expense.
town has to pay for it as a committee of the town.
have you talked to Ed about this?
Only the Board of Selectmen, the building inspector, the school committee, and the Board of Health can retain counsel, special counsel.
So, well, we're not gonna
Are you
have it.
denying it?
I can't deny it. It has to be a vote, first of all.
Okay.
Second of all, I'm not gonna deny anything without talking to a lawyer, because I don't have the information at this point, but.
Okay.
I think if what Ed's saying is correct, which I'm not talking about his opinion on the building, I'm talking about his opinion on the council, $5,000 retainer to review a letter is a little steep.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be inclined to spend that to review a letter. I mean, don't you agree? That seems like an awful lot to review a letter.
I don't know what's involved, to be honest with you. I don't get involved in that. I deal with lawyers all the time, and I try not to speak for them or assume.
You know, again, Mike, I think, I understand your perspective. You're doing what you feel is the right thing on a historical building committee, and I respect that. But the other, you have to look at it from our perspective too. The town voted money to tear the building down. We went through the procedure. We never got an answer to those every hearing. We went and, per suggestion of the state, formed that survey committee, which is laid out by statute. They came back with a report and said, the building should not be, is not feasible to rehab the building, it should be torn down. That was their recommendation.
You're talking about Russ and
The engineer, engineer,
Shane.
the surveyor, and
Fire
chief, the three members of the board.
Yeah.
That was their recommendation. Now we have town council, who is hired to advise the town, to give us legal advice, saying that if the procedure wasn't followed, the building should be torn down. So we have to base on what our people tell us. Ed is not there to tell us what we want to hear. He's never done that. He's there to give us independent legal advice, and that's what he did. So, I mean, if he had told us, no, you have to follow the procedure, then go back and do whatever, then that's what we'd be doing.
So the committee itself, the Historical District Committee, they're here to preserve and protect historical buildings. And if we don't do everything in our means to protect the history of Granby, I don't think the Historical District should be around. Because I just feel that that building is an integral part of that whole historical district, okay? It stands for Aldridge, they donated that property, the property was dedicated, there was a plaque there at one time, I don't know if the plaque is still there, is the plaque still there?
I don't know.
And it meant something, and now all of a sudden, it doesn't mean anything. And I feel that the historical district is doing their job in doing what we need to do to protect and preserve the history of Granby. So what I'm saying is that I don't have any proof to say other than what Russ has written. And my suggestion was, when I brought it to the last meeting here, is that there's alternative ways where we can have contractors come in and give us prices on doing whatever it is, and making that building into, such as, we can make it a veterans halfway house, where we can build off the back. We can do something other than just tear the thing down, keep the district involved and build off the back so that we can preserve the area. And I just think that there's other avenues other than tearing it down. I just think there is. I think individual contractors can go on and give us prices, because, you know, to throw out the word $600,000 to $800,000 to rehab that house, I have a tough time believing that, to be honest with you. I built my own house. I know
This is tough. When you're dealing with,
in history, I mean, I just don't know.
when you're dealing with public buildings, it's a whole
Yeah.
different ballgame.
That's why I say, ask for, you know, our contractors in town. Let our contractors in this town give us prices on renovating that building, instead of just throwing up things. And, you know, the structure in the cellar where they put temporary lolly columns, you know, that's our town doing that to our own building. That should have never even happened, you know? I mean, how hard would it have been to put in real lolly columns rather than these temporary ones? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. So what we're doing as a town is we're destroying our buildings and then saying, oh, we have no use for them, so we're gonna tear them down. You know? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Do they have the documentation we got from Ed? Ryan?
Sent the whole packet. Sent the whole
I
packet.
got the packet. I don't think I got that.
So we should have the information in terms of what our application and stuff.
There's no application on that form. There's no application.
Okay.
That's why I said, we never saw an application other than the one that Lou filled out. And we told him that night it wasn't complete.
No,
Huh?
that was done in December of 2013.
December of 2013, I wrote a letter.
That was the second one. That night, when you came up with a new form at a meeting that we had here that night.
That's the first one I got.
I believe we sent back in June, didn't you say we had?
There was a letter dated June 2013.
2013, and I was not around at that time. So
Okay.
when I got that application,
Well, I don't think your name was on that letter. I think it was Nancy Brooks, Craig Leonard, who were the committee members, city members at that point in time.
There were two members listed on that letter that were legal members at that time.
Terry, I'm not going to get into
Yeah.
legal versus not
Okay.
legal.
You mentioned the names, I wasn't gonna bring them up.
Terry, can I answer you?
Go ahead.
The issue is that committee was a legally appointed committee by the Board of Selectmen. They sat, they made decisions, and then all of a sudden you're coming in here and saying, it's illegal. So every decision that they made, is that illegal then?
They were just appointed in May, those two people.
I disagree with you, but you're entitled to your opinion, I'm entitled to mine.
well, there goes the reason for, you know, going over legal documents and getting that application.
But part of the problem is, Mike, is every time we do something, we're told we're wrong. We don't know what we're doing. It's illegal. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's coming out of your mouth. But this is the attitude that we're getting back to us, that everything is illegal. We don't know what we're doing. Our council doesn't know what we're doing. Our fire chief doesn't know what he's doing. Our building inspector doesn't know what he's
Oh,
doing.
I don't.
But I'm just
agree
saying,
with
that's the vibes that come back. I'm not saying it's coming from you, Mike. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Okay.
that's what's coming back.
I have all the respect
Okay.
for all those people, so I.
But I'm just letting you know, I'm not accusing you directly. I'm just saying, that's what comes back to us.
Okay.
So,
So where we go from here is that, you know, I don't know, when I spoke to the historical preservationists, they said that the historical district has the last say as far as demolishing a building. So I don't know. That's why I would need legal counsel if we were going to that direction. I mean, I understand what you're saying, $5,000 is steep. But how else are we gonna get something to rebut what's being proposed here on the table? Because I have no proof of any application that was written in June, okay? So I'm only going by what I know, and that's it. Okay?
I guess, Mike, I would just ask that, you know, I think we've heard from Ed Ryan saying that it's reasonable to have someone review the letter. And that means you're gonna have to get counsel to review your letter, so, but I think what you have to do is get a price to review that letter. I mean, I personally don't feel comfortable saying, okay, we'll set aside $5,000 for a retainer. I do not feel comfortable with just that open-ended thing.
No problem.
Although I do believe that you do have the right to have counsel review that letter. But
I don't want to do it
price
right
tag of
now.
$5,000.
I don't want to sit back 20 years from now and sit back and say, you know, you guys could have never tore down Eldridge Hall, and I was on that committee. I don't want to see that. And I'm doing my job as the chairman. We're bringing up the questions, and I just feel that at this point in time, with the building not in any imminent danger of falling down, the roof looks good, we have ample resources to do things for that building. There's a lot of property there that we can expand on and use it for other things other than, you know, town use. I mean, I think it's essential to the district. And I got a letter from the preservationist saying it there too. You know, that, you know, from James Ignu, who said that, you know, he says, as part of Granby Town Common, Aldrich Hall is an important component of the historical town center, town commons, and the building that surround them, and are a crucial part of the identity in many Massachusetts towns like Granby. So when you get somebody from the Granby, you know, from the historical preservation from Massachusetts writing you a letter like that, you know, you got to do your part, and we're doing our part, and I don't blame you guys for doing what you're doing, and I don't blame. We can agree to disagree. That's it.
So in terms of next step, I think we'll just consult that Ryan again for more clarification.
Do you want me to attend that?
No, Chris is probably just gonna make a phone call.
Okay.
If we're gonna have a meeting with Ed Ryan, we'll have a meeting, I can post a meeting and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I don't know that we're going there. And then from there, we'll contact you
Mm-hmm.
and let you know what Ed said, and because we'll probably have to meet before that, but we could probably,
So what are we looking for specifically, Mark, from Ed?
well, I want to know what extent of legal representation we have to give to the Historical District Commission. And, I mean, I read the stuff from Ed, I've taken it on his authority, I haven't really read, discussed it with him, so, we want to discuss that too. So we're gonna need answers to that before we get back to them on what the situation is.
Does it make sense to, I mean, this issue has been ongoing for a long time. And rather than do it back and forth like that, does it make sense to have Ed come to a meeting and just
I'm
discuss
sorry,
this.
cut you off. I mean, I would vote against that, first of all. He's representing us. If we get into an adversarial situation with lawyers, then it wouldn't be in the best interest of the town to have that meeting.
But what I mean is answer the questions of public about what we're asking.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I think it's just all part of open meeting, I don't know. I would really like to ask Ed some questions too, depending on what he says, you know, and I can't do that.
no, I agree.
If it's, and this issue has been ongoing for, I just, as I said before, I want it over. But I want to do it right too.
That's my whole
I want it
purpose.
over, but I want to do it right.
Now, Chris, is it possible to get that application?
I'll take a look and see. I don't know.
The one in June?
I'll take a look.
Right. Appreciate that. All
So,
right.
are we against having Ed come here? Is that the feeling?
I would like to speak with Ed first. I'd like to know what's going on before inviting him to a public meeting. Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'd like to speak to him too then, because.
Conference call.
I guess so.
Well, no, we
can't do that.
We got open meeting law, so we can't.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
We
So,
have a conference call with open meeting.
now, what I would suggest is that Chris calls him for further clarification, and then have him come in for a meeting if we need him to come in for a meeting.
Seems to me Chris has talked to him already, and.
Yeah, but I'm not getting it.
What more
Well, I wanna-
information does Chris have than he had before?
Chris says,
You
Ed
feel you
says he
have
doesn't see a problem with paying to have an attorney look at a document. But they're not just talking about having an attorney look at a document, they're talking about basically mounting a case against Ed's finding. So,
But if there is a case against the finding, there, you know what I'm saying? And we're hoping.
Well, if there is.
Ed's case is, it's a no-brainer. It's what it is,
Well-
and that's the way it's gotta be. This is important enough for me to have Ed here. I guess you people feel differently, but it's important enough for me to have Ed here.
I don't think it's a matter of importance. I think it's a matter of, if it's gonna go to litigation, then we should talk to our counsel before we have a public meeting
But
and
what does
discuss
that
it in
mean
front of
then?
everybody.
What does that mean then, we'll talk to our council? I mean, what,
Well, just what Mark said, have Chris talk to him, have him clarify a few things, and,
and then
see
we
what
go
he
from there.
says, and go from there. I'd like to know, I understand that council should review their letter, but to what end? Do we have to authorize a $5,000 retainer to have them review a letter? I think that's a little steep, so
yeah, I think
that's what we
right.
need to find out from Ed.
And
And I don't think we need to
The
do
thing
that
is,
in a
you
public
can-
meeting.
And you can pay a lawyer, and I'm not saying that's what you guys are doing, but, I mean, a lawyer could keep you in court for years.
Well, we know that.
We've had that unfortunate, we've had those
We know
unfortunate
that, Mark.
experiences on more than one occasion.
We know that.
So, we don't want to get to that.
I think once Mike gets me the hourly charge rate, you can figure out how many hours this person
I'll get
is
you that tomorrow.
anticipating. You know, that can give you an idea, you know?
Because this
But they
person,
want a $5,000 retainer.
But the issue is, they're saying a $5,000 retainer anticipating X number of hours are gonna
Right.
come to their multiple meetings. But once they get the hourly rate, you can get a feel for how many hours they're talking about. And if this board feels it's reasonable for the number of hours, then so be it.
you're probably talking,
No offense, Attorney Mercier.
you're probably talking $400 to $800. $400 to $800.
Could be $500 an hour. Who knows?
But I would like to understand what Ed is talking about more than,
Well, does this board want to set another meeting in June for like the 22nd? I'm just asking.
at that point, I'm free, so I don't know.
Because the 15th, which is our other day's town meeting.
Well, we have to do appointments, so.
Yeah, so I'm saying, you want to do the 22nd?
Probably should.
You want to do that? Mike,
Fine with
are
me.
you available June 22nd?
Monday night, yeah.
Yep. Is that good for the board?
So
or-
what are we doing on
I-
the 22nd?
I would suggest in the meantime, why don't you and Chris, as chairman, you and Chris sit down and talk to Ed and clarify whatever, and then determine, maybe Ed would think it would be a good idea to come that night. I don't know, but in the meantime, maybe you can get that information that Chris wants to him.
I could have it tonight.
All right.
All set?
Yep. All right. Town moderator, come on down. How you doing?
Draft.
All right, I'm okay with that.
All right.
Which one do you want to do first, special town meeting or the
Let's do the skinny one first.
That's
special?
not by much.
No, it isn't.
All right.
Okay, Article 1.
Article 1 is out of free cash, so that would just be a simple majority vote.
I'm gonna ask you what this is for, Chris, so I can log it.
I had it at the last meeting.
Yeah, this is just for the, I have it down,
Maybe I wrote
5,500 was the lease.
extension of the lease or
It's the
something.
lease that went up $500
Mary
a
Jo.
month. Yes,
All right.
and we budgeted a certain amount and then after the,
All right.
in the middle of the year.
So I'll come back.
I'll tell you what, Mark, let me put everything together for you,
All right.
so you can put it out, okay?
Who's going to present it?
Can you send that to all of us,
Yeah.
what you give tomorrow?
Yeah. Who's gonna present Article 1?
Can we just divide them up like we did before, or?
Yeah, I thought we already did get told who was doing what at the last meeting. I have, I think
No,
it was
Well,
what,
that was for, well, at least not when I was
That's
at.
okay. Well,
after you left.
through 19, so you wanna
Because-
do every 6?
Well, if, we're gonna have the department heads do
Yeah, a lot
theirs,
of it.
right?
Dave DeRozier's not gonna be here. He's gonna be away on vacation on that day, so,
Really?
yeah.
For his articles?
I asked him to give me backup documentation for the need for the new truck and stuff, so.
He's going on a big cruise or something. This is an anniversary or something, right?
Yeah, his wife will kill him if he
Yeah,
doesn't go on
this
this
is,
cruise.
yeah.
Basically, I think he's going on last Thursday.
All right.
I thought I had the first 3 for some reason, no?
You haven't heard it?
On my
I
other
don't
one,
know when you
yeah.
guys would have done it.
Huh?
When did you talk about it?
At the last meeting.
Yeah, at the end,
At the end, we divvied these up. Mark was gonna take, I think, the first 6, and I said, well, then, and then with everybody else coming in, we didn't
thought
have
that-
any left.
well, that was
right?
the other,
No, that was the other
that was our
special
other
town
meeting.
meeting.
because I said I wasn't gonna be there, and then
Yeah.
at the end, we said, well, if I show up, we'll do them.
So it went from me taking 6 to me taking 4, you taking
Yeah.
4, and me taking 4.
That was the one a couple weeks ago.
'Cause-
You very well may have,
Yeah.
just,
Anyways,
Okay, so,
well, who wants to do Articles 1 through 5? Let's put it that way.
I'll do 1 through 5.
you're gonna be up there for the state of the town address, and one else is a special.
Right.
Okay. Article 6 will be presented by Chief Wishart. Article 7 will be,
see, I started to write on it, too, so where I am. And then I realized when we were doing it, that was your copy. Do you remember that?
and then Article 7 is
What's that?
Chief Wishart.
8.
8 is Chief Wishart. 9 will be Chief Anderson.
I'll do 10 if you want.
Okay, and I can explain what that one is too.
Okay, you get that to me?
Yep,
I'll do 10 and 11 and 12.
okay.
Cemetery, Kevin, or?
Kevin's doing the 2, Article 13 and 14. I've already talked to him about that.
Yeah.
Article 15 has to be one of the board members.
So just write something up.
Okay.
Mary, you're doing it?
Yep.
Article 16 will be done by Chief Anderson. Article 17 is the engineering costs associated with the Route 202 sewer extension, so who wants to do that one?
Not it.
You're the sewer chairman.
Mark, you
This
said you do
is,
it?
Not it.
Oh, no.
this is for the,
AE cost associated with putting in the application and,
for the new application?
no, that was for the original application last
It's already done.
fall. And the cost for him to, or them to hurry up and try and put together a funding plan for the proposed sewer extension.
That we've now postponed?
Yep. It's not dead, but we postponed it. Article 18
Well, did
was,
somebody say they're doing it?
I think Mark said he was doing it.
No, say he's not
Said
doing it.
not it.
No, yeah.
I'll do it.
I'll touch my nose.
Mary, you'll do it?
Yeah.
18 is the $4,000, yeah, 18 is for the $4,000 for the leaf collection days that weren't anticipated.
Who wants it?
Mary, you gonna do that one too?
Sure.
And Article 19, I'll have Chief Anderson. And those are all simple majority votes. And on the second half of the annual, Article 13 is to accept our Chapter 90 annual authorization.
I'll do it.
Article 14 is Forest Fire Warden, that would be usually Russ Anderson,
Yeah.
Chief Anderson. Article 15 is usually done, I think, by Larry Petrus.
I'll do it if he's not there.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Article 16 would be done by somebody from the school.
Who would like to meet?
That'd either be Judy Hool, or are they reorganizing before the meeting, do you know?
I don't know. But, I don't think,
Or a school committee member, we'll have to find out that night. I don't know who. I think Jim Petrus presented the last ones at the last meeting, so maybe he'll present again. Article 17 should be the treasurer. Article 18 will be the police chief. Those are all simple majority votes. Article 19 will be a 2/3 vote because it's borrowing. And that should be the Chief Anderson. Article 20, I don't know who wants to do that.
I'll do that. Does he appropriated money last year? Is he
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Is it
Now he's
replaced?
down, it's down. I can give you what the current balance is and now it goes.
Okay. Well, probably should sit down with him before he goes.
Okay.
Do all this with it.
Article 21
Yeah, I'll do that one.
is a 2/3 because that's a borrowing. Article 22 is a 2/3. Now, do we want Jessica to present that?
If I would think it'd be a good idea if she's.
Well, then we're gonna have to get permission of town meeting to allow her to speak. Saying, oh, she's not a resident, so.
So is it worth having her do it or somebody else?
I think it would be nice to, so she can
Yeah.
get
And
introduced.
Visibility.
if not, who's the COH?
It was Russ Anderson, but
I don't think it's Russ now.
I don't know who it is, who they reorganized.
But, no, I think it would be good for, she should, be seen.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
What's her last name?
Scahilo. Scahilo.
Okay.
Article 23 will either be Chief Wishart or Anderson. Or maybe both. We'll get up there. Article 24 is a 2/3 because that has a borrowing component. And that should be Chief Anderson for the ambulance.
Wait, where, borrow?
Article 24.
Transfer and borrow.
Yeah, it's a transfer and it has a borrow component. I said.
So that means it's 2/3?
Two-thirds, yes.
And it's Anderson?
Anderson, yeah. Chief
Yeah,
Anderson.
ambulance, yeah, okay.
25, 26, and 27 is just putting money into the stabilization fund.
Okay.
Article 28 is Pathfinder.
I'll do it.
You'll do it?
Yep.
Okay. Article 29 is for the municipal solid waste department.
That would be me.
No, I thought you were
Oh,
still.
I'm sewer, sorry, I'm not
I'll
solid
do
waste.
Unless you want to do it here.
It doesn't matter, I'll do it. It's just the, pay for our
The annual budget, yeah.
appropriating. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You guys do rock, paper, scissors, or?
I'll do it.
Mary's doing it, all right.
Article 30 is sewer, and Mark is the official spokesperson.
I am the sewer guy.
Article 31 is usually done by the fire chief. Article 32 is usually read by the finance committee members. We usually break them up yourselves.
Split them up.
And under item 1, school department, there's 2 funding sources. One part is tax levy, the other part is free cash. Okay. I had to do it that way because we don't have that article at the end.
And that's a conversation we're going to have on Wednesday.
All right,
That's the complication that is going to
okay.
that probably takes 2 votes then.
But no, one, because they're both simple
There's
majority.
something, yeah.
It's a simple majority vote for both tax levy and free cash. As long as we read it as part of the motion, and that 8,607,870 be raised from tax levy, and 178,072 be transferred from free cash. And those add up to the 8,785 figure. So, okay. That should work out fine. Okay. So they usually do Article 32.
Sounds
And then Article 33 is transferring money from stabilization to general fund to reduce the tax levy. I think that's a 2/3 vote, right? No?
Wait a minute, sorry?
That's a 2/3 vote, transferring out of stabilization fund.
Yes.
All right, I'll do that.
And Article 34 is just to allow the assessors to tax the people.
I'll do that.
Alright. Sounds good to me.
There's one more thing.
Okay. Anything else on town meeting?
Did you want me
Yeah, thank you.
to? You gotta give us the town, right?
I will give a state of the town speech, I'll send it out to you guys so you know what I'm saying, and try and keep it shorter. I'll do a state of the town speech and send it out, if there's anything, I mean, if there's something you want to do or whatever.
Can we keep it under 5 minutes?
Oh, yeah. I'm not really very articulate past like 90 seconds, so.
I noticed.
We've known each other a long time.
This is a sleepover.
Since Lynn was in diapers.
That's right, I'm younger than
What are
you,
you
don't you
looking for
forget
then?
it. What?
What are you looking for?
I'm looking, this must be the old, I'm looking at the wrong special town meeting.
John?
Are you going to go first on your report and then finance committee?
Whichever, yes. That's good.
And John, you're giving yours?
Yeah.
All set?
Are you all set?
I'm all set.
If you're all set.
I'm all set.
Thanks for coming in, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
See you Wednesday.
Thanks, Lynn.
Yeah, Wednesday.
All right, finance committee, come on down.
Bring some money.
Well, can't complain. That's what you got.
How's everybody this evening?
Sure, how about you,
Here.
John?
Here. Good thing is it's keeping me away from watching the Red Sox. Rainbow. But that's a blessing. Good time they get rained out, they don't lose.
At least it's not red.
I have a monochrome printer. Actually, the budget this year is in pretty good shape, although it's not without its interesting features. And I'll talk to you about some of that and some of the problems that the Finance Committee is thinking about for the future. We'll start off though by, first of all, thanking Chris for all the work he did in the budget this year. He always makes the process go much smoother because he had so much work done before accountability policy. He really does his job well in that function. There were a lot of thorny issues this year, and we worked our way through them and reached the budget, which probably will be non-controversial with the possibility of one exception. I handed out 3 pages. The first is a budget summary, which I'll take you through a couple of features in there, and then talk about what I think you ought to know about the budgets for the town of Granby and the financial state of the town of Granby from the point of view of the Finance Committee. The things about the budget are pretty much in line with the way they've gone in past years. Small increases in the recurring revenue, and the total operating expenses up a little over 1% for the schools, a little over 7.5% for the town, which leads us to what we think of as the initial budget shortfall. That is, say, the difference between what our expenses are projected to be or being budgeted as versus what the recurring revenue is. You have to make up that difference through whatever sources you can. And if we move down to that, the sources to fill the revenue, to fill in the shortfall, include the use of $252,000 of stabilization funds. Basically, stabilization funds were being used for offsetting borrowing costs. We borrowed a lot of money in the last few years, which is a good thing to get back into that discipline of borrowing, because it enables us to smooth out what the fluctuations will cause from some big capital purchases. And so the stabilization funds will be used mostly, I think, for repaying borrowing done in the past few years. And then we're borrowing again for some items, which we'll be paying back some of that from stabilization funds in the future. There's quite a bit of stabilization funds that's going to be earmarked for future use. And then free cash use of a little over $1.1 million this year. That adds up to more than what the budget shortfall is, because it allows for the addition to stabilization funds. And as you can see, and I think probably you saw in the material I just went through, we'll be adding $900,000 to stabilization funds this year. And I'd like to talk about that because it points up, I think, one of the things that we have to start thinking about. The bottom 2 lines on the page show what the net addition to stabilization funds has been in each of the last 4 years. And by the net addition to stabilization funds, I mean each year we add money to the stabilization funds, but then we also take some expenditures out of stabilization funds. And as I said before, there's a reason for doing that, for borrowing, to get us up to a point where we can better control what we're spending on capital expenditures every year. And through the payback and borrowing, we have some idea of the future of what we can afford to do as we take a look at how the borrowing schedule then runs off. But if you look back 4 years ago, at the net addition to stabilization funds, we had landfill revenue that was included in that budget of $942,000, and yet the net addition to stabilization funds was only $562,000. So basically, we're about $380,000 short, which we made up from landfill revenue funds. Next year, similar thing, about $100,000 short. Last year, similar thing, about $110,000 short. This year, we actually have gone the other direction, and that's a good sign, but it's an anomaly, I think, as I'll explain to you about the last 26 years. So, unless you have some questions about the nuts and bolts of this particular budget summary, I'd like to move on and talk about what we think the thing about it should really be worried about. there were two big budget issues, from our point of view, about this year's budget. The first was that fiscal year 16 is going to be another year of subsidies for the school budget. The Finance Committee's stated budget guideline for schools has been the required minimum net school spending amount, plus the $306,000 override we voted for 10 years or so ago. But fiscal year 16 is going to be the fourth year in a row that the school committee has asked for an additional subsidy. The additional subsidy being requested for next year is almost $361,000. The Finance Committee is in fact recommending that this amount be voted. When this replacement renovation project for the West Street School and the East Middle School is approved, there's going to be a planned reduction in the number of daily bus rides to the schools. The schools are intending to implement some of that reduction next year, much earlier than 2 years earlier than the school will go. And the savings in fiscal year 2016 next year should be in the $130,000 to $180,000 range, with the remainder of the $361,000 subsidy coming from general revenues. Now, the school budget and the voted school transportation budget are two independent budgets, and there is no authorization for the schools to spend transportation savings on other school budget items. Essentially, we can think of the voted transportation budget as belonging to the town, and any savings in that budget could be used for anything that the town subsequently votes for, including voting to spend it on the schools. But the school committee, as you know, is once again going through a difficult transition period, and the Finance Committee is inclined to support them for fiscal year 2016. However, the Finance Committee is also recommending that this be the last year of additional subsidies. Continuing yearly subsidies are an indication of a mismatch between operations and sustainable funding. School Committee is forming a strategic planning task force to create a long-range plan for the future of the Granby Public Schools. And we expect the School Committee to examine the required funding level for the schools and ask the town for an override if that funding level is higher than the current guideline.
John, can I stop you right there?
Yeah, sure.
So last year, did you say something about that would be the last year of additional subsidies?
And
Last year too?
Absolutely, and then we had the
Okay.
change.
Okay.
Then we had the change in the superintendent. And one of the things that we've seen with this change this year is that, in our opinion, individual members of the school committee are starting to take much more interest in the budget and get involved much more in some of the details than we've seen them do in the past. And that's a good thing. So that we think that perhaps
That is a good thing, but
Yes.
as any board, it can fluctuate, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so I think it's very important while they're doing these studies this year to make sure that that's included in the kinds of things that the school committee is thinking about. Because no matter what happens next year, the Finance Committee is saying, if you need more money, ask for it from an override. That's the only place that sustainable funding can come from, is from an override. We hope that that's part of what is looked for. And I think the Selectboard is perhaps going to be asked to have a member on that school task force.
I'm gonna be on it.
You're going to be on it, so you'll have a first hand. Now, the Finance Committee is not going to be on it.
What is this task force for?
Strategic Planning Task Force.
Strategic Planning Task Force.
And it's something they've been pushing for
Some
it's
time.
been talked about for a while, but
Yeah.
they're actually gonna get down to brass tacks this summer. They're kind of doing, I don't know who else is on it, I think it's gonna be fairly huge, but.
Who's appointing it? They're appointing it, right?
School committee, yeah. It's a school thing, it's not a town thing.
We'll come back and talk about that in a little while. We'll go on to the budget issue number 2, which is that view of the Finance Committee that the financial capacity of the town is changing dramatically. In the last 26 years, Granby took in over $21 million in landfill revenue. After subtracting out the forward commitments to repay the town's recent borrowings and putting in what we're going to put in to the stabilization funds this year, we're going to have $4.8 million in Granby stabilization funds. The rest of the landfill revenue plus interest has been spent. That's an average of more than $630,000 a year. $630,000 a year that Granby no longer has. There have been additional items such as underestimated taxes and fees and overestimated budgets that roll back into free cash and have over the years. These varying amounts, they'll still be available, but they have also all been spent. We've taken in $21 million in landfill, we've taken in all these other items, we've got $4.8 million left. Now, we have invested in several major capital expenditures along the way, including the public safety complex, the library, highway building, council on aging building, a school roof, and athletic fields. But even if you exclude these items, and assuming that the town doesn't have to make any more similar purchases, there's over $229,000 a year that we no longer have. But having said that, the reality is that we do face similar major expenditures. The town's about to submit a proposal, assuming the voters agree to it, to the state to replace the deteriorating West Street School. The schools may require a higher level of funding to achieve their desired educational objectives. The town offices, currently in multiple locations, assumed to be temporary, need to be consolidated to deliver services efficiently to the citizens. And the roadways are going to crumble at the town's current level of expenditures on repairs. In summary, there have been some thorny issues, as I mentioned, to deal with this budget season. They haven't worked out. But the future is going to be a lot tougher financially. The requests are going to increase much faster than the town's income. You just heard tonight a request for what, $800,000 to fix up a building? And the town, and including the schools, are going to have to look very closely at the level of services that are being provided and match it up to the income available to provide those services. Returning for 1 minute back to this pool committee, a decision to put a strategic task force together. I think that's a great idea. But if we then project forward into next year, the schools will have done a whole lot of very specific kind of planning. Planning to build and renovate 2 new schools, one school and renovate an old school and replace an old school. They're planning on taking a look at what their expenditure level needs to be to provide the education that they want to deal with. That's going to be out there in a vacuum unless the town has some similar kind of planning process that takes a look at not just what the schools are looking for, but what the town needs on a long-term basis and how the town thinks about providing for those expenditures, or how the town thinks about compromising on the kind of services, both school and non-school, that's going to provide for the level of income that we can support. It's going to be very difficult to have any conversations about that unless the town has done some kind of similar look as what the schools are doing this year. It's always hard to get people to commit time to do these sorts of things, but the alternative is to be making decisions without a full knowledge of what the town is going to be up against in the next few years. So I'd ask you to think about that.
John, I have one question. You took away the amount that we spent on public buildings and you come up with a figure of $229,000. That's an average over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
But back 15, 20 years ago, we were spending, it hasn't been an even $229,000 a year. We spend a lot more back then than we are now.
There was one year we spent over $1 million in landfill revenue on operations.
Operations, right. So that $229,000 figure, even though it's an average, doesn't necessarily reflect what we're relying on now, right?
Well, if you just look at the last 4 years, we've been very, very conscientious, town as a whole, in the last few years to try to reduce the over expenditures. But 3 years ago, there was really a $400,000 shortfall, and then 2 years ago and last year it was a $100,000 shortfall.
Operating expenses?
No, total. Yeah. Because the $229,000 eliminates the big budget capital items like the public safety
Yeah,
complex
yeah.
and school roof, stuff like that.
Right.
But it does include a lot of much smaller items.
But again, that's an average over the last 20
It's an
some
average,
years. So
right.
the last, as you said, the last 4 years, we've been doing a lot better than we did 20 years ago when we were spending $1 million
Right.
on operating.
Right.
So at this point, what have we been averaging on operating budget the past, say, 3-4 years?
The 3 years previous to this, we were down about 600,000 divided by 3. This year, we have an increase.
Okay.
Well, I would say about 250 to 300,000 a year
Yeah.
average.
Higher than the 229?
No,
No.
that's what we've been averaging, about 250 to 300 a year, 300,000 a year.
Recently, which is
Right,
higher
within
than...
the- No, well, it's what, 21 to $71,000 more than the 229 average.
So
That's
we're
been
spending
down, but that's
more
been-
now in the balanced budgets than we did 20 years ago?
No, we're spending less. In fact, if you take the amount of money spent on
Okay.
stabilization funds for
Okay.
26 years, take 21 million divided by 26 years,
Yep.
you come to a figure.
Okay.
We are spending $1 to $2 million a year for a while on just regular operating budgets.
Right.
In 2006, after we had that financial management review, we turned around and changed our philosophy on how we were going to use the money.
Yep.
At that point in time is when we started taking that $1,800,000 figure and working it slowly down, not to fund operating, but to fund capital only, one-time expenditures, not recurring operating expenses. And we were slowly working that number down.
I understand, but the average over 21 years is $230,000. But now you're saying it's higher than that now?
Well, we had other years that were lower, and so now,
So when will we lower than that?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head on that one. I have to go back and look.
Well, I think what you're looking for, though, Lou, is like, what is the average in the last 4 years? Right?
Exactly.
Just let's take the most.
But it doesn't seem
recent-
to me it would be higher than the 229 because we spent so much years ago.
What- what's the-
I think you're mixing the numbers. The number at the bottom of page 1, the 630,000,
Yeah.
I think that's the 20-year average, or that's the landfill revenue divided over. The 229 is the amount we're currently roughly spending over. I think that's what.
So I thought the 229 was what we were spending yearly minus what we spent on capital improvements.
No, minus the big
capital,
ticket
right.
improvements. But for example, the that figure 229 matches it pretty well. You notice that there's the 252,000 that we're spending on a stabilization fund for this year, and that's basically for borrowing for capital items.
Okay. But this year we actually showed a net increase in stabilization.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to minimize the expenses. I'm trying to get an accurate idea of where we stand today, as opposed to 20 years ago where it was we were spending money like it was never going to end.
Yeah, no, I think that's why the reason I put in the 229 is just that was just a straight arithmetic calculation. But this $200 to $250,000 is about what it feels like in terms of what we've been up to in the last years when you take out the major expenditures. Now there's still going to be some major expenditures. We're not going to have a stabilization fund to pay for them. We're going to have to do it through taxes. And as you know, if the school recommendation goes through, they're going to be looking for some stabilization fund monies, and I think we're going to be wanting to put some stabilization fund monies because otherwise the tax increase is going to be fairly high.
But the other issue on that, John, is do we fund a school building project with $1 million or $2 million of stabilization fund or reduce the tax rate by pennies? Or do we use that for more important capital projects?
That's part of what I hope would come out of some kind of study of what the town's real needs are compared to just what the school's real needs are.
But that's all I'm saying is you gotta
Yeah.
look at what that $2 million will do to that tax rate impact. If it's pennies, will that money be better spent in other capital type of projects instead?
If we have some idea of what those capital projects are, yes. But
Get your crystal ball?
yeah, right. Well, it turns out, I think, that based upon the experience a few years ago when we did a study on capital needs in town, that it's not that hard, it just takes some time and work, to come up with some kind of estimate of what realistically you're going to be requiring. And that's what we came up with, this estimate of, thanks to the extensive record keeping that David Rocha does and the analysis of the roads, where we can pretty much predict that the roads are going to start crumbling unless we have a way to increase overall what we're spending on. Some are just going to fall apart.
I think they're going to fall apart unless, I mean, most communities are just spending in Chapter 90. That's it. They're not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things that I don't think we look at enough, it doesn't give us a solution, but it gives us an explanation for the problem, is that we're not getting the money from the state that we were getting from the state. And I don't know if all our problems would be solved if we were getting an appropriate money from the state, but all the roads are going to crumble in Massachusetts, not just in Granby, if Chapter 90 isn't kept at a certain level. The other thing is, we don't know how things will come out, but I think by September they should have a report done on the Chapter 70 funds and fixing that formula. And that may be
good.
And that may be a year or two before they get that into gear, because I almost guarantee it's going to cost more revenue than they're going to feel comfortable raising in Boston. But that's going to be coming out too. But we are highly dependent on the state, and there's no way that as a municipality we can make up for what the state is giving us. So I understand the roads are going to fall apart, but the roads are going to fall apart in South Hadley, they're going to fall apart in Amherst, they're going to fall apart everywhere, because everybody's pretty much dependent on Chapter 90, and that's it.
Finance Committee certainly isn't expecting or recommending that we spend money on everything that's wanted. But what we do recommend is that we have some kind of basis for informing the taxpayers what is and isn't possible, and a conscious decision is made about what's going to be let go and what's going to be kept up. We don't think we can do it all. It's just almost impossible.
John, I read your report, and we talked about it a little bit later. A couple of questions, just off the top of your head. You had mentioned a few recommendations. One of them was exploring possible public-private opportunities. Do you have any suggestions on that line? We were kind of puzzled as to what you
Well, one thing that Rob Cannon, one of our committee members, is not here tonight, brought up as an idea is that there are literally thousands of people overseas who would love to have an American education. And you can do that online. So, for example, if the school system were to develop, begin thinking about developing a program to offer a high school education, high school diploma, to people overseas through an online education program, much as like works with college courses and college settings. That's perhaps a possibility of something that could be, in fact, a revenue generator for the town. The landfill was sort of a perfect example for the town. Basically, we were in a joint venture with the operator of the landfill. They paid us property taxes as anybody would who owns property and built any kind of structure on it or used it. But in addition to that, in addition to the property taxes they paid us $21 million over 26 years. And we basically got a piece of the profits that were made in the enterprise. That's sort of ideal situation. So someplace in there almost certainly is some possibilities that can be looked at. And I think it would take some work for some people to begin thinking about those sorts of things and figure out exactly how it might work for a municipality. But that's really the best way to think about doing major increases in what you're doing in town. Just building things isn't going to generate much. It takes an awful lot of building to generate property taxes to make a big increase in the way you do business.
I gotta say, I'm very skeptical about private public opportunities. I just don't know of any municipalities. And I suppose if there's people out there who want to basically buy or pay for American education and a diploma, I guess there's some value added to that, but that would mean Granby would have to invest in the infrastructure to do that. And yeah, calling me skeptical, I guess is what I'm saying. And I don't see what else there.
Well, you should be skeptical. I mean, that's the whole point of having a group of people think about the possibilities, that the way to be successful in any business involves a healthy amount of skepticism, because, and banks know this better than anybody else, they won't just lend you money to do things. You need a well thought out plan with a little bit of innovation. That's why we don't have, if we had a surefire program, we would have mentioned it a long time ago. The landfill is just a great example.
I think, I mean, Rob's not here. I mean, he's much more keen on this than I am too, but I think the way to think about it, and the way he's bringing it up, is we don't have enough revenue to do all the things we want to do, as you're noting, Mark. I mean, there's not enough revenue. So we're in a situation where either we're going to have to start making choices on expenditure, or we have to find a new revenue source. And the new revenue source, I mean, theoretically, I suppose we could just raise property taxes enough to do it all, but it's hard to imagine that. So then the idea of the private-public thing is there may be ways to roll the dice on the, if we want to maintain this level of spending, but we only have this level of revenue, well, we're not going to get that way we're operating, so we have to think differently. And that's what his angle is. He's an entrepreneur at heart, right? I mean, how would a town think differently? And some towns have found little angles, little things here or there to do it. You know, South Hadley with their wastewater treatment plant, you know, they rented out to us. The landfill thing, we were basically renting that out to other towns. I mean, there are lots of things like that out there. They're not just sitting there ready to be picked up, which is the reason for the skepticism, because why isn't everybody doing it? But if we don't want to cut our spending down and we want to get the revenue up, that's what we'll need to start having somebody try to figure out what those are. And who knows if they come up with it. It may take 6 months, may take a year of doing it. But right now, we're not even having that conversation on any committee in town. And I think that's where he's constantly coming back to it, is saying, look, if we're not willing to cut the expenditures, then why aren't we at least trying to think of other revenue sources? And maybe we can find some.
Yeah, I understand the theory.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, you don't know the project yet, neither do I, right? So, and neither does Rob, right?
But I mean, basically, you got to start with something of value to offer. And
well, for example, I mean, have we done any looking into? Is there another landfill site in town? You know, is there a place?
Yes,
in
we
town?
have.
So you know, but those are the kinds of thought processes to start going through. Of we did that. When did we do it? Is there another possibility? Is there another kind of service that could be provided to surrounding towns? And like I said, I don't have any ideas, and none of us in the room have any ideas. But it's not obvious who's sitting around trying to think of those ideas right now. And so.
So we hope that the budget will go smoothly for the town meeting this year.
I think with the school getting money, that will make things go much more smoothly.
So if you have any other questions, we'll be available to follow up on anything. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
Jim Harley, Olympics, yes or no? Olympics, yes or no?
No.
Now we have debate with some people right now, and it's like, and I keep looking at all the research, and the research says no.
It's a definite.
Make a motion that we.
Yeah, only unfortunate.
Second. All in favor?
Yeah, we hosted them. That would be good for Granby. That's the point.
Number 72, number 73.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
New business folder.
Are you going to help me out here, Chris?
You want to hand a copy out to each of the board members? There's extra
Oh,
copies here
okay.
for them. So they can follow along. I got my own things.
So how much of this do I have to go through?
All right, you want me,
Yeah,
want me to go through it, Mary? Okay.
thank you.
I put together a proposed sewer use fee to cover the FY16 budget. Based upon the expenditures that were budgeted and the number of users and other funding sources, the only other revenue sources we have right now is interest income and penalty and interest on late fees. The proposed rate for FY16 for the community septic system users is $243 per EDU, which is a 3.4% increase. And for the Five Corners users, it's going to $546, which is a 40.72% increase. And people would probably want to know, why aren't we using any retained earnings? Our July 1, 2014 certified balance was $175,066. We used $105,892 in FY15 to reduce the sewer fee. So the projected balance left will only be $69,000 in retained earnings to cover any unanticipated expenses, and that's a very low figure. So,
And
Go ahead, Mary, I'm sorry.
and our rationale has been over the last several years to reduce, correct?
yes. And now, as far as I'm concerned, we're at a level that we shouldn't be reducing anymore.
We're at what? Is it 179? Is it on here somewhere? Or?
Here, I'll give you this, Mark.
Because I know I'm gonna have questions.
When you look in the center of it, go down a little bit more, right there. Our certified balance of retained earnings as of July 1 is the 175. In setting the sewer user fees or rates for fiscal year 15, we used $105,000 of that $175,000 figure, which leaves us only $69,000 left in the account.
Okay, got it. So
You
how-
can keep it, you can keep it.
All right, because I know Joe Fernandez emailed me, actually they sent me the documents, I'll send them to him.
Fine, I'll
He's,
send it.
he's better with them than I am.
Fine, I'll send you the document.
So how much are they gonna pay for the whole, what's their sewer bill, it's total, for like?
Total will be $243 per EDU
All right.
for community septic,
Yep,
and $546 per EDU per year for Five Corners.
okay.
Where is the 546
It's
again?
right here, Mary. It's right there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's not up here like this.
No, because
What is
this
this?
is this. Okay. The costs up above. What we do is this is our local budget right here.
Yeah,
And our local budget totals $102,199. Based upon that, we have 48
Users.
community septic system users.
Yep.
Take the 11,641 divided by 40, it comes to $243 per EDU. Okay?
That's, the 11,641 is for the total, like, budget or whatever, the total cost for those 48 people?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
Yep.
Then we have the Five Corners, which is basically the sewer system.
yep,
The local cost is $90,512. Okay?
raised. Yep.
$90,512. But we also have to pay South Hadley an EDU fee, a price to be able to send the waste over to the treatment plant.
Yep,
Their cost, I believe, is $265 per EDU, which is right there.
yep,
So that's not money we get to keep here, that's money that's sent directly to South Hadley. So when you add the 281 to the 265, you come to the 546 per EDU cost for fiscal year 16.
So the local use fee is our cost?
Yes.
All right. And I'm sure I've been told this before, but why is it more expensive for the sewer users versus the community septic? Just because of South Hadley?
Well, because we have to do, well, part of it is South Hadley, but
Yeah.
also we have to do more inspections on these pump stations.
Every day,
Oh.
right?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Okay, if you look at the breakup, when you look at this column in the center, Mark,
Yep.
it says total budget, and then I break out what we spend on community versus what we spent on the sewers,
Yep. All right.
okay? And it's just a straight mathematical equation.
Okay. That's
Okay.
fine. I just,
So last year, for the sewer use, the rate was
388
$388.
Yeah.
This year, the rate
is 546.
is $546 with an increase of
That's a
41%.
It's a 41% increase, yes.
oh my God.
Yes,
But how much they got in retained earnings? Nothing.
69,000 we're gonna have. And that's what I'm saying, we can't use any more of that money.
All right.
Because if we have an emergency, you won't be able to do any repairs until you go to the town meeting and get an appropriation to do it.
But it's still lower than it was back in 14
Yep,
and 13.
yep.
And the reason in fiscal year 15 was because we used so much out of retained earnings. And well, that's what I was saying. I thought, why do we use so much? And I thought we were,
Because
what was
We-
particular about last year?
we had been slowly increasing the rate
Yeah,
to keep money in retained earnings. The users said that we were penalizing them
Right.
because the majority of the money in the retained earnings account were betterment fees that were paid in the past that we should have been using to reduce their rate all along. So we turned around and just reduced their rate 1 year, and then now we're back to what the true rate of operation is.
did they think this was going to continue?
I think they did.
They probably don't know yet that it's not going to continue.
No, they're gonna find out when they watch this meeting.
Now, I will email the people I do have over on the sewer.
It's a straight mathematics.
I mean, it's
If you
not-
want-
it's
If you wanna
not-
use all the
This will
$69,000,
go on a sewer bill to them?
that'll be after the July 1, 2015 bill, yes.
Maybe if we drafted a letter of explanation to go along with the bill, we'll say why it went up so much. And give them the historical thing, it might help deflect some of the calls to your office when the bill. when the bill's due.
Yeah, it's only fair. I mean,
Sure.
and these people,
But
I don't know if it ever benefited them to sign up for the sewer to begin with, but I mean, that was long before my
They,
time.
on the, they had those choices, Smith and Leo.
Well, that's community septic,
Right.
but the sewer itself is a different story.
Some of them, I think, if I remember correctly, didn't have a lot of choice either, because it was just,
See, I wasn't around
Yeah.
at that time either, so I wish I could give an answer, but I can't. I just came in and inherited stuff too. And maybe there were some decisions made from the old board of selectmen too. I don't know, that they may have waived some of the connection fees and some of the other fees for businesses. I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't know what they did, but,
So let's look forward another year though, Chris. So it's going to be a lot worse even than the
No.
546, right?
no, I don't think so.
Or is the 546 kind of now reflective of an operating cost?
Yes, I think that's
A true-
a truer operating, annual operating fee. Like I said, $265 of that goes to South Hadley automatically.
Yeah,
So we have no choice in that. If they go up in their fee, that fee goes up, you know? At some point, I don't know if this board wants to look at doing a blended rate. Don't know.
What's that mean?
Instead of having 3 different rates, you put them all together and come up with one blended
and
rate.
then the houses are gonna be paying to supplement the businesses.
Yeah.
Or business. You know, I'm just saying, I don't know. It's
I don't
just-
mind blending five corners. Well, I don't know. Because Five Corners is South Hadley.
Well, see, the interesting part is those 19 users that only pay the South Hadley fee, this is the way it was explained to me, is they were houses on the edge of Granby who basically connected directly to the South Hadley system because they bordered South Hadley. And I guess they were promised that by the Board of Selectmen sitting at that point in time, that all they would pay is the $265 fee from, or whatever South Hadley charges, they would end up paying.
Where are these houses, Chris?
They're like
Virginia
Bittersweet, they're like Bittersweet, I think, and Mary Lyon Drive.
Bittersweet? Is Cold Hill on?
No, Cold Hill isn't on it.
No, it's Mary Lyon.
Bittersweet is?
I think there's some on Bittersweet, and then it's Mary Lyon Drive. I'd have to give you the exact address, Mark.
Virginia Drive.
Virginia would be the one I would think, because that's.
Could be Virginia, I don't know, I'm just saying.
I
Let
can't
me
believe it's not
get it to you,
Bittersweet.
I'm just trying to remember.
Burnett? Nothing up that way?
Nothing in Burnett, no.
No, there's no, is there sewer on 116?
Uh,
I thought parts of it was sewer.
I think up through Greystone.
Now, are our houses on it?
No.
Because, I mean, those places should be paying the inspection cost and stuff if we have to do inspection costs. I mean, like,
Well, the issue's gonna become is if what Dave DeRozier says is true, then eventually the cost for the community users is gonna go through the roof. Because we're gonna have to start doing Title V inspections on all the tanks at all the houses. And we have to start doing more inspections on the community leach fields and the collection systems there, then those costs are gonna go through the roof.
Yeah, I may have to look at that at some point, but, all right, are we spending inspection or maintenance costs on the 19 residences in South Hadley, is my question, I guess.
Well, we have scheduled tank pump outs. We do 1/3 of the 40, every 3 years we do like 15 of the
No,
tanks.
I'm not talking about the community, sir, I'm talking about the South Hadley.
The 19 houses that are just paying the.
Supposedly that pipe just goes out their backyard and connects directly to the South Hadley system. So that's why they're only charging $265.
Because they should be paying what they.
So I can't figure out Bittersweet, how they.
It can't be Bittersweet, it's like,
I'd have to take, let
Bittersweet's all the way up a hill, it's like, you know.
me take a look.
Unless
I
they go,
just,
they'd have to go down West Street.
And there was that,
but I think some of them, but the
The golf.
golf course, I don't know if they went through the golf course or whatever. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
and I
It
think
just-
there may be some up on Miller Street,
yeah, that's where.
you know.
That's why I was wondering if maybe.
well, there is a, yeah, there, Wayne,
You know, there's some up on Miller Street, there's, you know what I'm saying, is,
but, I mean, they should.
I can give you the addresses, Mark.
They should just, I mean, my only concern is that they should pay what they cost. If they aren't costing us anything in terms of inspections and everything else, then I don't think we should charge them more money, but just to defray somebody else's costs.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but it's getting to the point because if we extend 202, then am I gonna have to do a 4th rate, a 5th rate, a 6th rate?
Yeah.
Okay, it's becoming to a point where at some point we have to turn around and say, this is the cost, pure and simple, and we can't break it out by community septic, phase 1 sewer, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, whatever we end up doing.
all right, so we need a vote to accept the sewer rates for
Yeah, can
2016.
I just ask another question?
Yep.
So, Chris, something like the pump station inspection, that's done by
Pump station inspection,
13.7.
right, what that is
Is that the daily thing?
that's the daily
Okay,
inspection.
isn't that done by our people?
No. Oh, it is, but we pay $50 a day for the inspection to be done. We hired somebody with the proper certifications to come in. They come in, they go to each of the pump stations, and they check everything out for each of those.
Outside of the town?
What are contracted services, basically.
Okay, so my question is this. Doesn't it behoove us to get someone certified to do this in the town? And save $13?
Well, you're gonna wanna pay that person for their certification, that's the problem you're gonna run into.
That's why I suggested if we hired a facility
Yeah, I
manager,
know.
we trained
I
them in
know.
that and save that much money. That's what I said last week.
That's just in one area.
Yeah.
There are other areas.
Right, but can you do that? Yeah, but we also have to sit and think and talk about it as how we wanna go about doing this too. You know, that's all I'm saying. I don't have a problem saying, train somebody, but if you train one of our current employees, they're gonna say, well, you changed my job description, I now have to have more responsibilities, but they're gonna get paid
That's,
for money.
that's why I suggested if we hire a facility manager, we put that in the job description when we hire them and train them. I mean, just like they do with the schools, they have employees that check the well whenever it has to be checked, instead of hiring an outside service.
Yeah.
Seems to me to make a lot of sense, that's all. That's why I mentioned that.
And that's fine, but like I said, they just have to go and get their
Certification.
I don't know what level of certification you need in order to do the inspections.
I mean, our building inspector has to get certified. Part of the job, they gotta get certified. I mean, that's $15,000 towards a potential salary right there that we could save right off the top of the budget.
Plus, it would reduce them.
Yes.
I mean, maybe not significantly, but
Well, you would want to back charge them something for
yeah.
that.
Towards that service, sure.
Yeah, you'd have to back charge, maybe not charge them the full 15,000, maybe, knock it down half of that, 8,000, whatever, or,
Yeah, just, okay.
I agree, that's the problem with not having enough people properly certified.
Alright.
That's what it comes with.
I guess we could talk about that on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
We had another meeting. Shared services meeting, school building committee meeting, school building committee. Hi, welcome to school building committee project.
We have a meeting on Wednesday?
No.
You were invited.
Yeah, I got graduation. There's no way I can
You
go.
were invited to that all committee meeting at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I heard.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, there's a, it'll be a fun night. I'll have all the fun for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, make a motion that we accept the sewer use rate for fiscal year 2016 for the community septic system. Should I do them separately, or can I do them together?
You can do them all together.
At a rate of $243 per EDU. And for the Five Corners rate, a EDU charge of $546 for each EDU. Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So you're gonna write a letter, Chris, to explain, and when do these go out?
She usually mails these out in December, November, December, when she does these things. So I got a few ones.
All right, so we got the common vic.
Okay, I make a motion that we grant the following common vics for Sapowski Farms at 434 East State Street in Granby, expiring December 31st, 2015. Is that correct?
2015? December 31st, 2015? Yes.
Make a motion that we accept Janice C. Hughes
For charter days.
for Charter Days, expiring December 31st, 2015. For Taco Wagon for Charter Days, expiring December 31st, 2015. Dean Elliott doing business as Dino's Concessions, again for Charter Days, expiring December 31st, 2015. Locally Brewed Donuts, again, Charter Day, expiring December 31st, 2015. Scott Moore doing business as Bruiser's Barbecue at 129 College Street, South Hadley, for Charter Day, expiring December 31st, 2015. Nom Nom Hut, LLC, again, Charter Days, expiring December 31st, 2015. Stuff It Bananas for Charter Days, expiring December 31st, 2015. That's it.
Second.
All's in favor?
A lot of new ones this year.
We have a couple requests for the use of Dufresne Recreation Conservation Area permits. First applicant is for Granby Saddle Club. Responsible group member Shana Humphrey. Reservation date August 24th, 2015. Arriving at 7, departing at 7 p.m. No police necessary. Maximum number of people 60. No liquor. Special conditions, both horse rings and parking area. There's been a fee of $316 with a deposit of $158. I'll make a motion that we grant the permit.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Second one is for Dufresne Recreation Conservation Area. Applicant William Mick. William is the responsible group member. Reservation date Saturday, August 15 and 16. Arriving at 5:30 a.m., departing at 4. No liquor. Maximum number of people could be anywhere from 1 to 200. Type of function, concessions for Northeast Chevy GMC Truck Show. Area requested, kitchen only. For a total of $440. Make a motion. Is this the one that there's some concerns about destroying the property or something?
No, truck pull or something?
It's not
That's
anything
not the
like
truck
that.
pull.
This is a show.
This is the one
Just a show.
that, this is the one that comes in, they do what they display their old Chevy trucks and
We're all
Display.
very responsive.
So we got a second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
we need to sign the contract.
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to mention that one, Chris?
I went to Mary gets one signed.
I'm gonna keep this pen, I like it.
Is that a mess pen?
I don't know, but it's like, you know what it is, it's a medium tip. I hate the fine tip pens.
Yeah, I understand that. They did a nice job grading the road down at Dufresne's. Everybody's been in there. Both sides are very graded and gravelled. Best I've seen them in a long time.
Well, we're gonna have plenty of millings because we've got so much.
That could be what he put down there. But usually when he puts them down in big chunks. And not this year. It's all fine.
Different company than that.
Governor Patrick decided
Is that
to
just one?
withhold Chapter
That's
90.
just a chair.
After Chapter 90 money.
This is just you for chair.
All right.
Okay.
So he, Governor Baker released all of it, so we got a decent amount of money for change.
Barry, these are all. Maybe one more here too. One more.
Right, there it was. All right. Is everybody ready for Chris's evaluation thing? I know I screwed up about a million things, sending you emails and stuff. Are you else out of it?
Yep.
Okay. All right, later. I think I'm going to read two. I got two different documents now.
Okay, that's not on the agenda though, right? Don't we have to have that on the agenda?
I don't know. I sent it to Chris. I didn't.
Probably should be.
Yeah,
All right. You want to schedule for next year?
I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay.
You put it on the 22nd. Are you available the 22nd?
I don't know.
All right. So, but everybody's got the right copy and everything this time, I hope.
Calendar's dead or something. But yeah, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
The only concern, there's one issue I want to bring in front of the board is last year you had signed a 2-frame rental for a wedding for July 26th of this year. Part of it is a wedding reception that they're planning on serving alcohol. Kathy's been been working with us for over a year now, trying to get all the documentation. We've got everything except the $1 million liability certificate. Normally in the past, the board has required a 3-month time frame to process it and approve it, to get it to, so everything's submitted to ABCC, everything's taken care of, fire chief, police chief, everybody's taken care of. As of today, we still haven't received that $1 million certificate.
Is there a reason, Chris, that they give?
No, there is no reason.
Okay.
And like I said, Kathy has sent multiple emails. She's contacted them multiple times. The issue becomes is, do we notify them that, due to the fact that it's, 30 days, 60 days to the time frame, do we want to give them to the 22nd, your next meeting, or the 15th, or whatever, to get the paperwork into you? Otherwise, they won't be allowed to have liquor at this reception.
Does that still give us enough time after the fact for all the approvals?
Wednesday, that,
July 26th,
that gives us about a month.
month and a half.
Yeah,
That
but
should be enough.
the only thing is, I don't know whether you remember.
Well, we held
way back.
GPS to a different standard.
We did?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's,
Yes, you did.
and a while ago before, we held another person to a very grueling standard. So,
So that's the concern, is that in the past, you've set precedent by saying 90 days. So,
I think we gotta be consistent. And, I mean, you said Kathy has sent
yes,
numerous.
yes.
Didn't send a letter saying alcohol's not allowed.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
that's all I care about.
What about the dam issue?
Oh, that's a information. I went over to Bernac's and it's a problem.
Yeah,
I mean, it
I'm sure it
potentially a
is. It
problem.
always is a big
But
problem.
Is Mark, is that our lake?
The problem becomes is, we own part of the lake,
Yeah.
and Steve Wolf
Oh,
owns
Okay.
the other piece between us and Lecca.
Oh.
Okay, so I can sign off for my part, but he has to get Wolf's sign off on his part in order for anything to get done.
Well, they requested that we pay for it. I think that was there. Do they need our permission to
Well, my issue is I have no money to pay for it as it is now. As you can see, I'm going
no, right, I agree with you on that.
to get money.
Well, I think we should do what we can to help them out. I don't know that we should pay for it. I mean,
I signed as the owner saying that
it was
Lecca's
okay.
would have to be responsible for any costs, because I don't have the money,
Right.
you know.
And it's not really an issue as far as we're concerned.
No, I'm not having flooding on this side. You know,
Is there a chance that it might be, Chris?
no,
You have to come up another 15 feet, I think.
no.
15 it would have? to
Well,
be?
I looked
I don't
at
think
it
it
because
could
we're
not
on
that
well,
high.
we have a wellhead. Our well is close to the
Yeah.
pond, and I look at that, and it's well below our wellhead. You know, even in the spring when we normally have the large runoff.
They'd have to raise that dam another 10 feet in order for it to flood out.
And I think as long as we keep this side is open, because it's running on this side, it's not a full dam.
Right.
It's still running over here, maybe it doesn't run out fast enough, but,
Well, even if that was blocked, it's only going to rise to the level of the top of the dam before it goes over.
So
So
the other thing is, what are you going to do? I mean, trapping beavers is only a.
no, I think they want to kill the beavers.
They're killing them. Yeah, killing them.
well, they have to. You can't relocate them, so you really
But-
trap them there.
But I gotta say, even if they kill them, they're just gonna come with other
well,
ones.
that's the whole thing. That's the problem they had to
You
do.
need
for
to
it.
do. You gotta do a beaver deceiver thing.
The
Well,
reason
that
they're
was
there-
a suggestion that I made on the application form, that we use a beaver deceiver instead of trying to trap and kill, because you got probably 20 or 30 other ones that are just gonna
Well, exactly.
relocate back
The
in.
reason is beavers there is because it's a good spot, and if these
Right.
move out, other ones are going to move in. It's,
So I recommended the beaver deceiver. And apparently, they didn't like that recommendation, so.
I mean, I have no problem with having the beavers killed, but it's not gonna solve the problem, and I don't wanna pay for it. I mean, we have to go to town meeting and ask you for capital item to say, pay for something that really doesn't impact the town. And my understanding is it's pretty expensive to trap and kill the beavers.
See, my issue is it this dam, or is there something on the Wolf's property that's causing the backup?
Well, you don't know what's in between. You can't-
And that's what I'm
can't see.
saying.
There's a culvert over there, isn't it? It looks like. in
He
the
has a
woods.
culvert over there, but then it feeds over into this pond to come out of here.
But usually they'll block at a narrow spot like a culvert. That's
Right.
usually what they'll pick.
That's why I'm wondering if there's something in the woods where the Wolf's property is, along stream there, that they may have built up this cost.
This big dam's been here for
2 years.
2 years. It's never backed up like it is now.
No. And that's why I'm wondering if they may have built something on the other side where the stream feeds from Lecca's into here. Because during that dry season, this was down really low.
Now, where's the water that's affecting Lecker? In the front?
Yeah. If you when you drive down and you
Stony Brook.
look just as you get past the bridge,
Yeah.
look in their property, and it's all
It's a mini
water.
Pond.
Yeah,
It's a swampy type of.
It's usually a stream.
Hasn't it always been like that though? in the
No,
spring?
it's usually a stream. That's why I think something happened on the Wolf's property, because this has been here for 2 years, and this is the first year I've seen that.
Where's Wolf's property? again?
In between here.
The
We-
sewer thing is partially, is on their property, isn't it?
You know where the
Pump station?
sign is advertising for the boat place?
Yeah.
That's Steve Wolf's
Yeah.
property.
Makes sense, yeah.
Isn't this pump station on their property?
No, I don't think so. I think we may have carved a piece out of there or something.
Eminent domain taking maybe?
Probably, yeah.
Because I think, I remember the conversation years ago that was,
Actually, he wanted to donate that property to the town, but with the stipulation that the sign would have to stay up there. And we decided not to take it with that stipulation. So, that's all I can say on the dam issue.
So are we gonna send a letter then, or what are we gonna do?
No, it went in front of conservation. In order for the dam to come down, conservation has to issue a permit to allow it to be taken down. They're the only ones that can issue the permit. And I know he went in front of the Conservation Commission, but I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody there yet.
Okay, so, what, should we send her didn't she send it to us too?
she sent it to us.
So
Right.
should
Asking us-
somebody
no.
respond?
I received an email asking to sign off as the property. I signed up.
And someone sent us a letter asking us to pay for it.
Yeah, I thought Diane Lecca did.
I didn't get that one then.
An email, it wasn't a letter, it was
No,
an
it was an
email.
email.
I didn't get that one.
There was an email about the problem, and then on the bottom it said, two things, they wanted permission to shoot them, and then they wanted, a second thing was they wanted the town, since it was on our property causing their problems, to pay for it.
And my issue is I don't have money to pay for it, number one. And that's what I wrote on as the property owner, that, as long as they pay for it, they can do what they want. But I recommended the beaver deceiver. Because shooting the beaver or trapping it and killing it is not gonna solve the problem.
It sounds like somebody needs to get out there and
I
look
guess
around and see what's
my
going
only
on
thing
there.
is, because someone sent us, I always get a little nervous answering something as one board member. I don't mind it coming from
Yeah.
the chair, but just acknowledge that we received it and we heard that you went to conservation, something that just says,
Can you do that, Chris?
he didn't even get it, he said.
No, you got the letter, you didn't get the email?
Was the form attached to the email?
I think it was Kathy forwarded us something, I think.
Okay, so.
Yeah, that could have been,
I'll
but it
take
was
a look.
to us, I thought. to the
Yes, because she
select
said
board.
she didn't know, is that the one that said she didn't know the selectmen's email addresses?
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look at stuff from Kathy, because they were emailing me direct.
All right, well, you could still get back to them, tell them the board has discussed it, and we have no problems with what they do as long as it's allowed by a conservation commission vote.
And they're gonna talk to Steve Wolf too, but if it's
Yeah,
partial property.
they might not even know that, so.
No, I wasn't aware, I know we own property there somewhere. but-
Because what we did is we contacted the assessors, because I wasn't sure that we owned it either. And she sent us the assessor's map that shows the delineation. The other issue was the issue with DEP and
Yeah.
a misstatement in the Sentinel. No, I'm not.
Results.
We're not laying any blame.
Wasn't
Nitpicking. They had forwarded us the letter. They had also emailed the architect and the Berkshire Design Group and the whole 9 yards, saying that they felt that the statement should read differently than what was in the article. The request was made of Walter to print
There's a
the
difference
correction.
between may and will.
You know,
And it's like, it's very technical that they wanted to make sure that everybody understands that they haven't finalized their decision yet.
Who sent them the article?
they read it in the paper. We have
They don't
DEP.
take the Sentinel down with DEP, I'm sure.
Well, we have people who live in town
That's what I'm saying.
who brought it down to them.
Right, so I'm saying. we sent
They're
them.
not saying who did it, but
It doesn't matter, I'm just curious as to how they.
we do have DEP personnel who live in town and who live in Belchertown too, so.
Okay.
So can we spend a minute on that? Yep. So what, that letter is saying something different than what's been said to the public, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and that's an official letter.
yes.
It's
If
not.
you, if you remember when I talked about it at the last meeting where we talked about signing the special town meeting warrant, I did say we hadn't received anything in writing.
Oh, I remember that.
Well, guess what?
We did.
Now we have something in writing that
Well,
says that they it killed the other project because they said phase 2 was going to be required based upon what we heard at the,
It just
That's
though
the school
goes to
building
show
committee.
us, we should learn from our lessons though, because we talked about it as gospel. You know, I mean, really, I think we should learn something from these things.
that's why.
You know, we
I usually
use
say
that
it's not in
about
writing.
against the sewer thing.
And that's why I say it's not in writing, it isn't so. And I try and qualify it,
There'll be a clarification on the paper on Thursday, but it's already a moot point from what I hear.
but I don't know.
That they have,
They've already issued the letter?
they have signed. I mean, it's a, I don't know, if you've got something that I
haven't
It sounds
seen
like
it.
you have something we don't have, so.
well, I don't know. All I heard was what you heard at the meeting. And what I heard was there won't be a need for a wastewater treatment plant, wastewater facility. That's what I heard. But they said there might be some conditions attached.
Well, there are conditions. We had to make a small repair on a tank.
That's the whole issue. It was just like this.
Basically, it was
Well, I think there was 3 conditions. 1, that we repair the alarm on the tank. 2, that we supply them with the projected student and teacher populations when East Middle School was originally built. And also for the high school, when that was originally built, what the projected student population was and what the teacher and administrator populations were. They would take that information, do a reverse calculation, and determine whether or not those 2 systems would be big enough to handle the whole school. Okay? And I believe that's information that come from the school, and I don't know if that's been submitted yet.
but it's, I don't know. Nothing has really changed. I think it was
But it still is not in writing. It's still not saying that the system's going to be good for the next 50 years, or the next 20 years, or the next 30 years. They may just say that, yeah, the system is sized that you can use it for a period of time. How long that period of time will be, we don't know. Until we get the letter.
there wasn't anything that surprised me in what they were telling us, but
There's just someone who wanted to make that point. That's all.
yep. All right. Anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All's in favor? Aye.